Good morning.
Good morning.
We got our coffees and our mood together, and we're going to be talking about a few interesting things. The main topic today, though, is the whole Afghan refugee situation. I know it happened about 3 years ago. I know there's about 180,000 that crossed into the U.S. after the U.S.
fell.
Bailed out. So the interesting question is, first of all, the first question for me is, why are you involved and the church is involved versus the American government being involved in helping these people? They brought them here, no? They allowed them in. But there are no governmental programs, or are they? Any?
There are governmental programs, but they don't do enough.
Hold on, I forgot one thing.
Okay.
Your name. What's your last name? Mary.
Tripp.
Tripp, that's right.
Yep.
So
I'm
actually,
your neighbor, two doors down.
Mary is my neighbor, and she's been here for a very long time in this neighborhood. And she's been helping a lot of Afghan refugees, the families, and coming from the border and getting settled in, finding a life in America. That's what it is for them, right? But it's a tricky thing to do, not that simple. And so explain to me about why is the American government not really involved, or are they involved? To what extent would you say?
Well, first of all, they are involved, but there's just so many of them, and the people and the programs just don't go far enough. Basically, when Kabul fell, obviously the American government brought them here. And they ended up bringing many of them, to the most expensive, or one of the most expensive cities in the United States, San Diego. And the way I got involved in it is I gave away a couch. And one thing led to another. I thought it would be one and done, but I met a family and they had nothing. And when I noticed that they had nothing, that's when I put my wheels in motion, and people from my church got involved, and we started to collect things from our neighbors and from friends, and they needed things besides money, which the resettlement agencies at that time had provided. Well, about the same time that Kabul fell, the Ukrainians started to come, and so the money got less and less for the Afghans. And so that's basically what happened.
So what's their process like? They're coming in through the border. I mean, they're going through hell over there. They're going through Brazil or wherever they're going through.
Well, they're not all coming in through Brazil.
Right.
The people that originally came through Qatar, or through the SIV, through the legal process. Some of the people that I helped, the ones that came through Brazil, those are people that could not get out of Afghanistan legally. In Afghanistan, there are many tribes, ethnicities. The Pashtuns are the primary tribe, and those are the Taliban primarily. Mostly all Taliban are Pashtuns, but all Pashtuns are not Taliban.
Yes, of course.
Okay. The next largest ethnicity is Tajik. And then the Hazaras are the third primary ethnicity. And those are the hated ethnicity primarily. Those are the people that are being persecuted, and it's a genocide over in Afghanistan. Those are the people that are trying to get out and have walked from Brazil or from Chile and come up through the Mexican border. And those are the people that I've housed in my home. They would be the illegals, so to speak.
Wow. This is another topic I want to talk to you about, with the whole Trump being elected and his policy. They're probably scared to be deported.
They are.
And what do you tell them?
Wait.
For what?
Right now, it's just happened. We have to lock the borders. And first of all, it was very difficult for me 2 years ago when the first family came over illegally, because I personally like legal immigration.
Of course.
However, these are people, and they are being killed in Afghanistan. And when they came across the border, and the first family that was brought to me for help, I fell in love with, and I knew they needed help.
Which is something we need to talk about a little bit, because I think people need to understand this, that you are of Catholic faith.
No, I'm Lutheran.
Lutheran.
I worship in a Lutheran church. I'm Christian. I'm a Jesus follower.
Yeah.
But I choose to worship in a Lutheran church.
Lutheran church.
Yes.
But these people have nothing to do with Jesus. They're
Muslim.
They're Muslim.
Yes.
They don't. It's interesting.
Yes. Well,
how does that? No clash?
They're my neighbor. At one time I was very fearful of Muslims. I know nothing about Muslims, which showed my stupidity. And in my personal devotional life, one time I basically asked the Lord, "Who's my neighbor?" And he said, "They are." And I knew that I needed to put down my fears, and that's what I did. And so I said, okay, I'm going to help them. And that's what I did. And so where I would have been fearful of the woman in the burqa or the scarf, now I reach out to them, and now I love them. And
they love you.
And they love me. And and now they're my family.
Yes.
And so, yeah. So God does different things in our lives, and he puts families together in different ways. And yeah.
So tell me more. What is their process like they're not gonna, are they gonna integrate? There's no such thing as integrating. In America, pretty much you can practice any religion you want. But what's the integration process psychologically for them, culturally? Do you see a difficulty for them?
I see it very difficult for them, especially initially, because they don't speak any English. The women especially have no English, and many of them have no education, because that's been withheld from them in Afghanistan. So the more that we bring them into community, the more they're going to integrate. And so that's become my role. And you see that in the cul-de-sac here.
Yes.
I bring them into my home and try to integrate them into a community. They have left everything behind in Afghanistan. They've left their families. They've left their grandmas, their aunts and their uncles, their parents. And they come here with nothing. And so as a result of that, they don't know what to do. They don't know the language. They don't know the culture. And so what I've tried to do, and a lot of my friends, is build a community for them. And so
what's step one? They need an apartment or a place to stay?
Yeah, they need a place to stay. The ones that come across the border need a place to stay.
ASAP.
As soon as
What does the government provide?
Nothing for anybody that comes across the border, because they've come across the border.
So you have to deal with, and they don't speak the language, so you're literally dealing with every aspect of integration, like finding a job, calling the government, getting your Social Security.
They can't get any of that when they come across the border illegally initially. But when they come in with a special immigration visa or on a P2 visa, like the ones that came when Kabul fell on the airlifts, those people came in and they had what was called a resettlement. They were given money to come. So when they came in, somebody like, there's 6 resettlement agencies: African Alliance, Catholic Charities, Jewish Community Services.
Yeah.
People like that provided them with some resettlement money. They found them an apartment. They gave them some initial money, seed money, to get them started.
Yes.
The problem is that seed money that they received was not enough money to last them for any length of time.
Right.
Especially in San Diego. when you bring a family of 6 or 8, many of these people have a lot of children, and they put them into a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment that's costing them $2,300 a month, and you're given $6,000.
This is San Diego.
Right.
This is San Diego, people.
It just
It's
doesn't.
pricey.
Yeah, it's pricey. And, they just can't make it. So it's very difficult for them. And then they can't get a job and they don't have a car. And so we try to find them a bike. And I'm not the only person that's doing this. There are other people like me. And most of us are old like me that are trying to do our best to try and help these people.
What motivates you to do this?
Well,
I mean, there's plenty of people that feel awful about what happened. They don't do much about it. So what is the mindset of people like yourself? Because there's a few.
Well, my mindset, I know, is not the same as others. My mindset is I'm called to be like Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they need help. And ultimately, that's what I try to do. I want to show them the love of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I try to do. I try to be Jesus with skin on to them. And I don't preach to them, or I just want to love them. They need help. And that's what I can do for them. And I try to do that.
For anybody listening on any spectrum of faith or not faith, or doesn't matter where they're from or what they believe in, what would you say is the value that you get for yourself out of doing that? Because you clearly would recommend this, say, you know what, I would urge anybody and everybody to do this, to help people like that, and put yourself outside of your own, bubble of life, and go out there and help these people as much as you can. There's some inner, I don't want to say pleasure, but some fulfillment you're getting out of helping people like that, right? There's a
Oh yeah, the reward is wonderful. I mean, I sleep well at night.
yeah.
The satisfaction is just marvelous, because I see the growth in the people. I watch them change. I can see how they're growing. It's like you watch your own child.
100%.
You see that growth in these. So
you've seen that in the past 3 days, 3 years.
I see that. I see that sometimes in a week or in 2 weeks in their children, in themselves, and they reciprocate too. And
course.
and they love me. I have 3 children. They're not here. So the Lord has given me these people to fill my life too. So they do fill it,
yes,
because I spend 40 to 60 hours most weeks with them. And,
wow,
and that's a blessing for me. So I know that I'm a blessing to them, but they are a blessing to me as well.
Right.
So, I feel as if he's given me them. He's given me a job to do. And I don't sit at home and say I'm bored, or I have nothing to do at 70. I'm almost 70 years old. So I don't not have anything to do. I've got plenty to do.
Right.
I thought my last car would be my last one. I'm sure I'll have to need another one. I've got 82,000 miles on it, and that's driving them around.
Yes,
so
I see. Where are they now? Let's after 3 years now. Where are some of them? What do you see? They have jobs.
They've moved into their 3rd apartments, so they're moving up. They're paying their rent. They've moved from central San Diego, from City Heights into nicer places in El Cajon or La Mesa. They've moved from one small little 1-bedroom places into 2-bedroom places. They're starting to take a vacation once in a while. They can take their family to go look at another part of the United States. They're starting to think about those kinds of things. They're thinking about starting businesses. Their wives are starting to go to school. They're starting to make a life.
Would you say that they feel like they made a right choice?
Oh, I think every one of them has made a right choice, and they believe that they have made a right choice. Yes. Really? Yes. And they're building community within themselves as well.
Of course. Yep. Interesting. Yeah. You have they don't speak the language, so there's clearly some kind of
they're speaking
language
more and
barrier
more.
For yourself.
Yeah, I don't speak their language, right?
How do you... So how I'm just curious about the interaction.
They're learning to speak English more and more.
You picked up anything?
Bali. Yes.
I see.
A few words, and I can understand when they are speaking sometimes. But I don't speak it. No.
Most of them speak Tajik, right? Tajiki.
No, most of them speak Farsi. Dari.
Farsi, yeah.
Dari, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Okay.
It's dialect of Farsi.
Okay.
Yeah, fascinating. Have you been? You've done a lot for the Afghan community, obviously, and you're still going to keep doing it. Did you have the same? What about the Ukrainians?
Well, it's funny you would ask that question because I originally thought I'd be working with the Russians. I took 5 years of Russian.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I adopted 3 children, two from Russia and 1 from Uzbekistan. So I thought I would work with the Russians. But that's not where the Lord led me. So the Lord led me to the Afghans. And so my heart is with the Afghans as far as ministry. But I love the Russians. So, which isn't a very popular place right now. But
yeah, I think people misunderstand when they say, because what you mean by Russians, you mean because people think of Russia as like the Slovaks who lived in like Moscow and that region, but Russia is kind of like if you can imagine America connecting to Canada and Mexico and South America, and imagine that's one big country.
Yes.
That's what Russia used to be. It's the Soviet Union.
Yes.
So let's say I'm from Uzbekistan, another guy is from Kazakhstan, another guy is from Ukraine, another person is from whatever, Siberia.
Right.
That was one large place that had all these cultures and different ethnicities and different languages in under one sovereignty. You could call that Russia, right? And we all spoke Russian, right? So if I'm from Uzbekistan, I spoke Tajik, Russian, maybe another language, Uzbek. No. So people misunderstand that a little bit. They think like when they think of Russian, who speak Russian, they think only like the Slovak. But Russia used to be a big, big place.
Well, 2 of mine are Russian. Misha and Valeria are Russian. So I do have a little, Misha's from Voronezh and Valeria's from Moscow.
That's right. That's right. They're Russian.
I do have a little heart for that area.
Gotcha.
Although, that's the non-popular area right now. But,
yes, I know.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
God has a way of doing things. I have no idea what I'll do. I'm open to his lead. Right now, there's a lot of work to be done with the Afghans. We're just starting with them. As you said earlier.
What does that mean?
What? Just starting with them?
What do you mean there's a lot of work to do?
Oh my gosh. They've just got here. So, their children now need help. Their mom and dad can't help their kids. I said, "What are you doing over here, Ellie, with the puzzle?" I could no more than set a puzzle down in an Afghan's home and let their kids put that together. That would all be over their floor. But their kids need to do those kinds of things too. Your children know how to do that. Their children do not, because mom and dad can't sit down with them and do that. They need a grandma to sit down and do those kinds of things. So my role with these kids is changing, or with these families. Instead of providing furniture, which is what I do today, or household goods, clothing, those kinds of things, because they're now working, okay? They're driving Uber or whatever, and that's not what they want to do either for the rest of their lives. As they get their education, these men and women, they're going to be doing other things, but they need somebody then to come in and love on their kids as a grandma does,
right,
or as an aunt and an uncle or whatever. That's where my role is going to come in.
Gotcha.
And I can do those things. And I had the benefit of, when my children came into the country, my mother came and worked with my children. She'd come from Minnesota and stay 4 or 5 months and work with them. That's what I need to do with their children.
It's amazing that you can break the cultural barrier for yourself and go into a whole nother, obviously people are people. The basics are pretty much universal, but you're still dealing with a whole nother culture and religion and all this stuff. You're able to just, you don't see that. You're looking at people as, as human beings, first of all, and that need help, that you see the lack, you see where they're lacking. You're like, I'm going to be that. I'm going to fill that void.
Oh, yeah.
That's
I don't see that.
Really,
there's no difference.
Right.
No difference.
Yeah.
They need an American grandma. Grandma's the same in every language.
Right. Did you notice that, I don't know if they talked to you about it, did they have any fears about losing their culture, losing their religion?
No.
Or for their kids?
I don't think so. Because they speak it in their own home. I would encourage that they speak their culture, or they speak their language
Right.
in their own home. I hope someday that they do meet my Jesus. I hope they do.
Right.
I hope they meet him.
Right.
That's the goal, is that they do meet him.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you meet him.
I meet him every day. So with Trump in power now, what do you notice that is positive, negative? What do you think?
Well, the positive thing is that he's closed the borders, and we've got 3 months to get a handle on who's coming in and out of our country.
Right.
And that we're deporting the worst first, and I'm thankful for that. The negative thing that's happened where the Afghans are concerned is he's cut all funding to the resettlement agencies. And that is a problem for those Afghans that have recently come into the United States. So somebody that came in the last month, or the last couple of weeks, or the last 30 days, 60 days, or whatever, their funding has been cut. So how do they pay their rent? They can't. And so my prayer is that somebody's going to take a look at that and release the funding to the people that befriended our soldiers. The other negative that I see is some of this birthright stuff, because the Afghans that were born here in the United States, they need to be able to stay here in the United States. And they truly should be American citizens. Even if they came across the border from Brazil and at the Mexican border, if they came into the U.S. and they had a child here in the U.S., those people should be U.S. citizens and should be allowed to stay. And I'm not sure how that's all going to shake out, but those are all, where the Afghans are concerned, I think it's a unique unique situation because the Afghan population or the Afghan soldiers were promised specific things by our administration, and I think we need to keep our promises.
I see.
And I think Trump needs to do that.
Interesting. I mean, you probably see why he's kind of saying. I'm just trying to see his perspective.
Oh, I think I see his perspective. I understand it, and I think we need to wait. I'm not complaining. I just pray that he sees the perspective of the Afghan. My heart is with the Afghans, and
the other refugees.
The refugees, some of them, the ones that are here, that there's a asylum law. International law, and we've become a part of that organization, or we've signed those treaties. I think those people that are truly asylum seekers that are able to prove that, I think that those people should be able to stay.
Got it.
And if they can't, if they are not able to do that, if they're coming here for other reasons, just for a better life, I think they should go home.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So you think people who are looking for a better life should not?
No, not if they're not being persecuted and don't meet the other 5 criteria. No. I think they should wait in line. I think they're welcome, but I think they need to wait in line.
I see.
I think they're welcome in the United States, but wait your turn.
Got it.
Come through the legal process.
Sure.
Yeah. But if you're being persecuted, and come. That's what we're all about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The door should be open.
Mm-hmm. And if you could say something to the Afghans in general, or the asylum seekers or whatever, what would you say to them?
I would say, don't be afraid. God has a plan. He's brought you this far, and you're here, so it's not a mistake. Just wait and do the next right thing. Let the process work.
Thank you.
Thank you.